John, good to see you. Today we get to talk through the 5 investing mistakes you might be making right now. A lot of us wonder whether we're doing all we can to achieve our goals. So today we're going to talk through some really common mistakes, but also suggestions how to turn things around. So mistake number one is getting out when the going gets tough. And you and I have talked about this before. When we do this, we're often missing the best days. This shows a $10,000 investment over a 15-year period. If you just stay invested, it turns into 45,000. But if you miss the 10 best days, that number is halved. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's actually pretty impressive sometimes when you look at this chart, even for an advisor. It gives you confidence to look forward, and because everybody knows that if you're in the market over the long term, typically it's going to work out pretty well for you as long as you're not getting too wild and crazy. The challenge is sometimes is when we hit these pockets like we are to, and probably around this time period with, these tariffs and things of that's going on. The uncertainty of things can really weigh heavy on people, and so that's why it's really important to, from the very get go, to make sure you're in the right allocation that you need to be in. But it's also important once you've made that decision to not go back on it when things start getting a little rocky.
Right, because often those bad days are smushed up against those really good days. You don't want to miss that rebound. It's a really
Sure.
good point. So the next mistake is taking on too much or too little risk.
Yeah, and this one's a balancing act for everybody. A lot of times we deal with a lot of retirees who are just real careful with their money, and so you have to balance the wanting to take a little risk, but also not taking no risk. Because if you take no risk, you can get caught with inflation, which is something that a lot of people are dealing with actually right now. Perhaps over the last 3 years, as inflation came in, and maybe their portfolios were loaded up with bonds that really felt the effects of that interest rate change really over the last couple of years here.
Mhm.
And so it's just important to make sure you have balance inside your account and make sure, again, it's kind of lined up to you and it's your personal customized
Mhm.
portfolio.
Mhm. And that leads us into mistake number three, which is not rebalancing your portfolio regularly.
Sure. And it's very easy to fall in the trap of that moment that we've had here again over the last couple of years when the market started rebounding on, maybe over the last year and a half here, where the market was doing really well. And it's really hard to rebalance when the market's roaring good. But it's really important to stay disciplined to do that. And the reason why you do that is you can kind of bank some of those gains that you've had in some of those equities and rebalance into the maybe that bond category or your more conservative area. And it just gives you a little more balance. So that way, when we hit these pockets where the market's shifting around a little bit, you don't find yourself up at night and kind of wondering what's going on with your account.
Right. Take some chips off the table.
Sure.
Mistake number four is paying too much in taxes.
Sure. Nobody wants to pay more taxes than they need to pay. Is really what it comes down to, and there's a lot of little nuanced rules inside the tax system. But yes, it's very important. You want to watch, is your Social Security getting sucked into your tax equation?
Mm.
Um, if you contribute to an IRA account, could that lower my taxes and not have to pay them? So there's Roth IRA accounts. So there's a lot of different ways that you can adjust the taxes that are inside your account, and when you're filing your taxes each year. And that's where sometimes having somebody like ourselves or an accountant to help you get through that is pretty important.
Mhm. And then the last mistake is not seeking professional advice when you need it. You should ask yourself, do I have the skills to do this? Do I have the time to do this? Do I want to do this? And if the answer to any of those questions is no, you might want to ask for help.
Yeah. We have clients that we've dealt with that at every ability to be able to accomplish some of these tax things.
Of course.
But then I have some other ones that maybe just really have no idea how to get through some of that. And so you kind of have to understand where you're at in your position. But what I found, even with the ones that maybe had the capability, they wanted to make sure their spouse had the ability to understand what was going on as well. And so sometimes even incorporating an advisor in that sense, just so somebody else knows kind of what's going on in your world. And even if you have that, maybe you're that engineer who's just really good at math, it's still good to have somebody maybe who can give you some guidance along the way and act a little bit of a guide and just make sure you're not missing anything that you could be a really simple correction.
Right. This is your world. This is your job. This is where you live.
Sure. like I always tell people, if I have a car problem, I am not going to fix my car. My wife wouldn't let me anywhere near my car. So yeah, you
Smart
just have to,
women.
understand your lane a little bit, but
Right.
also just understand sometimes when you have a professional, sometimes they can really add some extra
Right.
value for you.
Right, right. Good point. John, if somebody would like to talk through, whether they need a financial plan, whether they're making any of these mistakes, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Give us a call, 440-471-4300. We're pretty easy to find here. And, just give us a call when it's right for you. And we'll just do our best to get you on the calendar, come in. And we always like to keep it really light here and make sure that everybody's comfortable.
Great. John, thank you.
Thank you. Take care.